Hello, my name is LoG, and welcome to another edition of LoG Tracks. Today's track will be in the category called Variation, meaning somewhere in the chord progression there will be a slight variation that you'll have to play over as the track runs. Let's first hear what this track sounds like. The main variation of this track is that it alternates between E flat major and E flat minor, but before each chord, you're always playing the standard 5 of that chord. The main point of the lesson today is to take all of the ideas that we previously practiced, moving to a minor chord, a 5 of a minor chord, and doing all of those ideas moving to the major chord as well. And we're going to practice this using some very simple tricks that will guarantee you always sound good. If you enjoy this type of instructional material, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below. And now let's get on to the lesson. So the point of today's lesson is to take all of the sounds that we previously learned when we play a 5 chord moving to a minor 1 chord, but do them also moving to a major 1 chord. Now you might be saying, wouldn't that not be in the key? Wouldn't most of those notes not be in the key? That is correct, but remember, the whole point of this setup sound, this 5 moving to 1, is to make your ears want to hear that next chord. And sometimes the more out or nasty the notes are, the more potent that resolution is. So for example, if I play B flat dominant 7 and move to E flat major, sounds perfectly fine. But if I start to play B flat dominant with some of those notes that we would play moving to E flat minor, maybe like this, and then resolve to E flat major, it's pretty powerful as those notes move down because the sound is a little bit nastier than you would imagine. And when it resolves, it's even more satisfying. So the notes that we're going to add in our leads are going to be exactly the same as everything we've talked about in the past moving to minor. So that would be like B flat dominant 7th. By the way, I'm doing this in E flat. So B flat is our 5, E flat is our 1. So that could be like B flat dominant with a flat 2. So maybe something like this. Resolving to E flat minor, but also E flat major. Right? So that's sneaking in the flat 2. How about sneaking in the flat 3? Right? How about sneaking in the flat 6? How about playing diminished on the 3, 5, flat 7, or flat 2 of the 5 chord? Again, leading into the E flat. How about the other sound, the up a half step melodic minor? So instead of playing B flat dominant, we think B minor. That would sound like this. Again, leading to E flat minor, but also E flat major. So we're going to do this with a couple different methods, but the main thing that we're going to do is create some licks, some stock licks that are always going to be the same. They're always going to be played at the same place rhythmically, and they're always going to end the same way. And the way we're going to end them is instead of ending on any note we want, we're going to end specifically on a note that is in both the E flat minor and the E flat major, making the process a little bit easier for us as we get more comfortable with the sound. So let's go over the process of creating these licks and finding the right notes to land on. All right, so let's go through the process of creating these licks that will take us into the E flat major or E flat minor. And the two notes that we're always going to land on that work in both E flat major and E flat minor are going to be the fifth of E flat, which is B flat in this case, and F, the second of E flat. Now you might be wondering, why are we not landing on E flat? Shouldn't that be the most obvious note that is in a minor chord, a major chord, and a dominant chord, maybe the root? That seems to be the most obvious note. Why are we not doing that note? For two reasons. Number one, it's kind of what I just said. It's sometimes heard as a note that's too obvious or too blatant or not as colorful as some other notes, because the root is definitely happening somewhere in the music, the bass player, maybe it's in a chord voicing of the keyboard, whatever, and maybe some of these other notes might be a little bit more colorful. So that's one reason why we'll generally avoid the root. And the other reason, especially over a major 7 chord, the root is actually not the most smooth sounding note. If I play minor chord like E flat minor, if I sing E flat, there's our E flat. So, of course, sounds fine. Over pretty much any E flat voicing, it's generally going to work. But if I played E flat major 7, which is the major chord that we're playing in this track, roots don't necessarily sound as smooth over a major 7 chord because the chord has a 7 in it, right? Where is the 7 in relation to the root? It's back a fret. So if the chord is playing this and you as a lead player land on that, then it's going to sound like this. Ba, there's the note. Again, not terrible because that note is in the chord, but it might be a little tense and maybe not what you're going for. Most people would probably resolve on the 7 instead of the root. That sounds like this. Again, it's happening on top, so that note is kind of being featured. So again, you can pretty much disregard everything I just said. If you prefer the sound of the root being featured over a major 7 chord, like if you prefer this voicing, that's E flat major 7 with the root on top. If you prefer that over this, that's E flat major 7 with the 7 on top, then maybe you can use the root as a target note as you're moving through. For this lesson, we are not going to do that because generally that's not what most people will do. So again, mess around however you want, create the sounds that you want. So let's get started by creating these ideas. And these ideas are going to be really, really simple. B flat, dominant 7th, nothing crazy. And we're just going to be adding in the notes as we go. Remember notes like flat 2, flat 3, flat 6, maybe up a half step melodic minor, which would be B melodic minor, maybe some diminished. All of the ideas that we previously talked about when we were moving a 5 chord to a minor 1 chord, moving to E flat minor in this case. So I'm going to play over a track here in a second, but let's come up with some really easy one. How about this? B flat, dominant 7th. How about just descending in arpeggio? 1, flat 7, 5, 3, 1. Right? Super simple. How about ascending? Right? Really simple. Let's add in the flat 2 to the mix. So flat 2, where is that? Simply up a fret from any root that you play. So if that's 1, that's flat 2. So I'm going to play a little bit of that note in my lick. Sounds like this. Okay, so I'm moving down 1, flat 2, 1, flat 7, 5, 3, not playing root, going to the flat 2, then the flat 7, and then resolving here. Now here's the cool thing. What note is this? This is B flat. You're probably saying, oh, that's the root of the chord we're on at that moment, right? That B flat dominant 7. But it's also our landing note, the 5 of E flat major or minor. It's a really nice thing about the 5th because it's the root of the chord that's happening before it. It's the root of the B flat, but it's also the 5th of the E flat. It's a note that I like to call like a pivot note, a note that lives in both chords. It's the root of this one, but it's the 5th of this one or that one. So it's kind of nice mentally and visually because we're already looking at that note or visualizing that note or playing that note. So it's usually pretty easy to find in your hands. So that's our first lick. Sounds like this again. That's landing on the root. So let's just see what this sounds like over a track. So I'm going to play the slow version and then I'm going to play a slightly quicker version. So that's our E flat coming up. There it is. Here's the lick right here. Took us to the E flat major. Here we go. Took us to the E flat minor. I'll do it one more time. Major. Now it's going to take us to minor and play a slightly faster version, coming in a little later. I came in later to compensate because I'm playing faster. Here we go. Notice every time I resolve that lick, regardless of the chord type, major or minor, it works perfectly. Why? Because I'm targeting the 5th, which is in both chords. Nice. How about I do something targeting the 2nd, right? What can I do there? How about I do something coming from the bottom? So instead of I'm kind of doing a descending lick. Let me do an ascending lick. How about that? So I'm working up this time. Here's my B flat chord. I'm going 1, flat 2, 3, 5, 1. Then I'm playing the flat 7. I'm also sneaking in this note. That's our sharp 5 or flat 6, one of the other notes that we can easily play. Dipping down, I'll dip down to the 3rd and then play the 2nd. I dip down to the 4th and play the 2nd, but I think I like the 3rd better. So how about... There it is. Notice the note I'm landing on, the 2nd right there. And that's kind of a cool way to approach the 2nd because I'm walking back 1, flat 7, then flat 6, and naturally you would think, oh, I'm just going to keep going down, but I don't. I go past it to the 3rd and then resolve to that F. Here's another cool thing. That F is the 2nd, the note that we're targeting of E flat minor or E flat major, but what is it of the B flat? Of B flat, it's the 5, another note that we're already playing. We're already visualizing that note. So again, it's like a pivot note, a note that we can seamlessly move back and forth between as we move through the chords. Let's try this lick. Let me start my track over. So that's the B flat. I'll wait for the E flat major right here. Here's our lick. I'll play the slow version. That took us to the minor. Here's to major. All right. One more time. I'll play the faster version. To the major. Excuse me. Here we go. Right? So you can notice also what I'm doing right there. I'm playing the lick, and once I land, I know exactly what note I'm playing. I'm playing the 2 either time, whether it's major or minor. And because I know I'm playing the 2, I can then slide into some other ideas. Like if I'm playing E flat minor and I land like this, I know that's the 2 of E flat, so I can come down like that because I know where I'm at. I know, oh, if that's 2, that's 1 and 5, flat 7, 1. I can continue moving like that. But then if it's major, and I know that's the 2 of E flat major, I know, oh, if that's 2, I can go up to the 3 and then down to the 7 and move however I want to play. So that's the beauty of this is you know the note's going to work. You know 2 is going to work. You know 5 is going to work. But you also know exactly where you are, and you can use that information to continue moving however, in whatever direction you want to go, instead of just only relying off of your ear, which is, of course, really great, and that's what you should do. Backing it up with the actual knowledge of what note you are playing at that moment will just give you the control that you're looking for when you're playing over changes like this. So yeah, that's the idea. We'll just do a couple other ones just to kind of get some other things in your hands. How about let's do one featuring the flat 6? How about that? So that's, again, the note 1 fret up from the 5. So you can call it flat 6, sharp 5. It's the same note, whatever makes sense to you. So how about something like this, like more of a larger run? How about something like that? So what am I doing? Really, really simple. It's just like an arpeggio. 1, 3, skipping the 5, going to the sharp 5. Let's call it that. 1, 3, sharp 5, flat 7, 1, 3, sharp 5, moving up to the flat 7, and then I resolved up here to the B flat. That's the 1 of the B flat, but it's the 5 of the E flat chord, right? So that one's going to sound like this. I can easily also try to target the 2. So instead of going like this and landing on that note, I can go and land on the 2. That's the 2 of the E flat major or minor. That would sound like this. Right? Can also do that, slight little change. That was just a little jump that I wanted to play to approach the 2 from like a jump, which is usually a pretty cool sound. Let's try that, same thing. I'll play the slow version and the fast one. That's the minor. Here comes the E flat major. Ending on the 5, sounds perfect. E flat minor. Also sounds perfect. Now I'm gonna hit the 2s, here we go. Sounds nice. Here we go. Notice, works over both chords, the 2 or the 5. And that's, again, actually, let me do that one more time and play the slightly quicker version, which is fun. I'll wait till it comes back. That's our major. Here comes the dominant. I'm going to hold off. Here we go. Hitting the 5. I'll hit the 2 this time. Here we go. Right? That was my slightly different one. where I made a jump and then hit the 2 because that's kind of a cool sound. Again, doesn't matter what chord I'm going to. It's always going to work. And I always know what note I'm hitting at that moment. I know it's 2. Oh, if this is 2 and I'm playing E flat major, I can do something like that and then move around. If it's 2 playing E flat minor, whatever, continue however I want to go because I know where I'm at. I know I'm playing 2 and I know the notes nearby that I can lock onto. Let's do a couple more. How about B Melodic Minor? That's B flat, dominant, right? One of the main ways that we can do is go up a half step, start playing melodic minor. So let's do a really simple B Melodic Minor idea. It's going to be a literal arpeggio again. That's always, the simplest ideas are always arpeggios because they're just the chord tones. That's just B minor, but let's sneak in the natural 7 to give it that melodic minor flavor. So that's 1, flat 3, 5, normal 7, 1, flat 3, 5, natural 6. We'll sneak that in there. And then down to the 2. This one's actually pretty similar to the one I just played in that it's an arpeggio and we eventually land on the notes up top. So here's landing on the 2. Here's landing on the 5. Right? Same idea. Let's do this over the track in the exact, the exact same way. Here we go. Here comes the dominant. Play the slow version. Slow version one more time. Landing on the 5. I'll do the faster version. Here we go. 1, 2. Land on the 5 up top. 1, 2. Again, it's going to work exactly the same over each chord. Notice that one's a little bit more dissonant, especially when I play the slow version, because I'm nailing B on the bottom when the chord is B flat, right? So the chord is B flat and I'm nailing the flat 2 like right off the bat. So it can be a little bit strong if you're playing them slow, but if you play them with a little bit of tempo at the right spot, they sound really nice. Again, that's that B melodic minor, simply up a fret from B flat, always landing on the 2 or the 5. I can do the same thing. I can kind of come from the top, something like that. What was that? Up top, B melodic minor, right? That's just like, I'm thinking B right now, B minor. So that's 2, flat 3, 2, 1, normal 7, normal 6, 5, and then landing on the 2 or landing wherever makes sense for that run. So that's something else you can experiment with. Again, really simple sounds. What's the last one? How about diminished, right? Diminished is going to be really simple really similar to the first lick that I went through, which was dominant 7th with flat 2. Because it's almost exactly the same thing, but for this, we're going to not play B flat at all when you play diminished. So here's our B flat. Again, if you want to play diminished, you can simply just move up a fret, start playing any diminished idea that you know. Right, and we can land on whatever note. How about something like that, landing on the 2? You get the idea. You can craft these licks however you want, as long as you're ending on the 2 or the 5, they'll always seamlessly transition into the next chord, whether it's E flat major or E flat minor. And make sure that when you're doing this, you are also always playing the same exact lick. I mean, the same exact lick that ends at the same note and is also the same length. It's really important that you do that because you don't want to start to noodle around or meander too much when you're not comfortable with this sound. As you get better and improve, you can start freely improvising and not worrying about like playing stock figures because these sounds will be in your hands and in your ears and they'll be so much easier to lock onto naturally. But if you're not used to this sound, and you're trying to just like maneuver through these slightly complex sounds, there's a chance that you might start to get lost. So this is a way to kind of rein in the noodling and give you just really concrete ideas that you know exactly how they're going to work, and you know exactly how they're going to end, you know exactly how long they are, etc. And then as you get better, you can start to slowly branch out and kind of play a little bit more freely to see if those notes are still happening, to see if your comfort level is still there. So the last thing I also want to talk about here, in regards to creating licks like this, it's really important that when you are playing stuff like this, you aren't just playing one fingering for your idea. I think it's really important that you experiment with a variety of different fingerings, because different fingerings around the fretboard will yield different ideas, right? So let me play, how about something like this? This is similar to one of the first ones that I played. Something like that. if I only play right here, I mean, that's fine. It's a nice spot and it's a good sounding lick, but take the time to say, how would I play this lick somewhere else? Like if I played it, for instance, like right here, instead of right here, how would I play it right here? Right? It's a completely different fingering, completely different like organization of notes, but notice where that leaves me. I'm now playing this note with my middle finger. I'm kind of in this position. So maybe it will bring me into a different idea that I wouldn't naturally play if I only played the lick right here. Because notice what finger I'm on now. I'm on my pointer finger. That would yield whatever, any idea that I'm playing in that position. And then, of course, it would be different if I learn the lick here. So take the time to adjust how you're playing these ideas. Don't just, lock them into one particular position, one particular fingering. Take the extra moment to say, okay, what am I playing here? How would I play it here? How would I play it here? How would I play it ending on or starting on my ring finger, starting on my pointer finger, starting on my pinky? How would I do that with this lick? Because that'll allow you to see how this lick will kind of morph into different positions depending on how you play it. So I think that's a really important thing as you're playing. Of course, the simpler the lick, the easier this is to do, but try to do it with complex licks as well. I'm telling you, it'll open up different ideas that you wouldn't ever expect to play, especially if you're only playing the lick in one particular way. So really important thing, just a little extra thing at the end of this lesson. So that's pretty much it. Just to kind of wrap up some of this stuff, you can, of course, learn the licks that we talked about right here. They're pretty straightforward, or you can just take like the kernel of ideas and experiment, do whatever you want, create your own ideas. I highly recommend you do that. Actually, I prefer that you create your own as opposed to just copying me, because it'll be way more fun for you, that's for sure. But let's end this lesson with, I just played over this backing track right here. Just kind of going over the basic ideas that I just talked about, so you can kind of see what they sound like when they're strung together in like a solo context. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The associated backing track for this lesson is going to be, the chords are going to last longer than what I'm playing over here, so do keep that in mind, but I'm sure you'll figure that out as you listen to the track. So hopefully all this stuff makes sense. Again, if you guys enjoy this type of instructional material, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below, and I'll see you all in the next one.